Okay, summoning bonanza. So, soul exchanges here. Finally, what everybody wanted. Let's peep in. Well, it is the one. So, not so thrilled personally, but let's talk. Ah, this is the one that I'm not thrilled about because I already have him, but I'm absolutely thrilled that he's available for a lot of players to get because obviously he's a top hero. Okay, having said that, let's go into each one individually. In the row of 10 souls for exchange, Marie Therese. She's a slow speed pirate family chick. Creates zombies and does her thing. So there is a heal over time, there is a defense that she gives, and then she creates zombies that inherit all these things. Musashi, the fast speed hero of the month of 2017 family. This could be his biggest claim to fame. Bonus for 1, 2, 3, that is speeding up mana by 5, 10, 15. Stats are very dated, so I will not say anything about that. He's a rogue, that is useful. He's fast speed and the dragon fang, so 332 damage to the target, minor, which as it is becomes quite reduced, so half of that. Caster heals 50% of the dealt normal damage for 5 turns, so he self heals, and the element link is pretty good, I would say. 15% attack and 15% defense, because these days they're giving 5%. I mean, 5% in the element link means nothing. So that's that. His health is on a very low side, so is defense. So I would like to believe for 2017, 786 attack would have been super high. So yeah, that's Musashi. Hit 3, self heals, and this is good. This is good too. The yesteryears reviving sniper, Kingston. He used to, hit and kill because of the stats of that particular era. Again, hero of the month 2019. I still hadn't joined the game at that time. So, stats again, very dated stats. This would have been balanced stats with this being a little bit low during that particular period. But today it's low. Another unique thing was the resistance to fire. So he would be placed somewhere in such a way that one of the heroes would be spared the great Gravemaker's burn damage. I remember the strategies. But at fast speed, good sniper. The other part is he would give the ailment of target and nearby enemies would get decreased attack, and his element link plus 4 mana gen was useful. Yeah, it's always useful even today, even though there are much bigger mana benefits. Ares, we already know. This is his greatest claim to fame. Stacking with other heroes of the month, which automatically gives this element link benefit also, but at the same time, the mana speed up, which helps. The rest, otherwise, I would leave it that he's an impact 3. So self and nearby. Of course, there are fans of Ares. So at average speed, yeah, Also, he's got stats as a tank of that time. Today's time, this is not a tanky stat. Uh, Good buff of plus 54 attack, plus 36 critical chance, and heals self and nearby. Plus, he gives the attack and the defense buffs through the element link. I have him. I haven't even looked at him. I don't know. Might be ironic if I feed him away in this one, but then I have a costume, so I'll keep him for some time. Missandra. So she's the lagoon chick from Atlantis. Again, reviver. There are quite a few revivers. Dated stats. So what does this do? Yeah, that's for 2, 3, and I mean, it's hardly any lagoon fellows, and plus they've still not rectified it to 1 hero. Okay, so deals 3-1-0 damage to a target, which is absolutely, which might have been a little okay then. Today it's irrelevant. Has 42% chance for additional hits on random enemies up to 3 times. This is useful, but again, it's that percentage and not guaranteed. So that's that. All allies gain a small amount of mana for each hit, and that is really useful. So she's fast speed, blue chick from Lagoon family. She is useful in case you're searching for a blue in the zone. So who are the fellows to go for, to recommend in this? I know the quickest way would be to say, Kingston, I've been missing him for a long period of time. No, not useful. Straight. I like the impact multiple heroes. So I would, depending on the roster requirement, Missandra or this fellow. And then obviously both will require investment in terms of emblems and if possible limit breakers. So see what the roster requires and go for it. This one is useful because she impacts all and does a lot of things. But again, she's slow, so really doesn't help. Third would be this guy, and fourth would be him. Because even though all these buffs look lovely, how much will be used is something that only the player knows. So that's that. The only thing I will say is impact multiple, whether it is healing or healing should be impact all actually. And if it is damage, at least impact multiple. So impact 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. I said 4 because she can impact 4 up to. She gives a direct whack and then 3 more additional. So that's that particular role. Let's go into this one. Plain Jane, costume Sartana. She's a fighter, straight damage. There's nothing else to say. Again, very tanky for that particular era, I would say, are the stats, because 685 attack is of no use. Yeah, with the double limit break, which nobody's going to give, is somebody might still. I take my words back. So yeah, Plain Jane Sniper. Going forward, Drake Fong. So there was a time when I would have really liked to have had this fellow, and it seems now he has a costume out. But when I look at the stats, again dated, he is a hero from that particular era, 2018 family. So defense part, impacts 3, that is damages 3, and gives a blinder, accuracy element to 3, and of course 5% attack and 5% defense for 6 turns. Then SG became miser with the element link. Can you see something? 15 attack and 15 defense goes down to 5 attack and 5 defense. So yeah, Drake Fong is a good fellow over here. Many have been waiting for a reviver, waiting during the last soul exchange for Albie. So here he is. I don't need to say anything about Albie. The good part is he's part of the 2017 family, so that mana speed up is available. And of course, Apart from the 33% chance revive and the heal over time, his element link seems to be really good because from the previous year, and attack and defense benefits. So if multiple fellows are being used, this is available now to all allies. That moderate amount of mana for 4 turns is really useful because suddenly the heroes start popping up and charging up. So that's that. That's your LB, and he's available. Elizabeth, the yesteryear's queen. She went out of vogue about at least 9 to 10 months, or maybe a year back, because crazier heroes started coming. But she is still useful. She's a monk. There are benefits of that. We know what this does. This is really useful because many times the buff's over on everybody and she is still having that buff for an additional time, especially when I'm using, because I use Gazelle a lot. So she carries that Gazelle buff and she has the double whack of attack and receiving defense, which has been useful. So whatever it is. Her stats are still not so bad comparatively. And yeah, average speed, she does a lot. Damage, the find is still useful. Yes, there are many find solutions that let me correct myself. I remember somebody saying it's not find, it's fiends. So the fiend solution, there are many fiend solutions. But the best part of the spider fiend is minus 24 mana gen for its owner for as long as the owner has fiends. So there you go. Anything that's reduces the speed of mana, slows the opposite team is useful, and she's an impact all hero. Master Lepus. So the bunny from the Springvale family. Still they have 2-3 heroes for the bonus. Silly. Okay, so well, for his era, his attack was, I would say, fantastic when he was introduced. Defense, okay for then, but that health is, I would say, a 4-star, a poor 4-star, not even a good 4-star, a poor 4-star hero's health. They need to seriously sort this particular thing out because this is silly now. But it is what it is. He's there. Fast speed, reckless finisher, 410 damage to the target, minor to the nearby, gets minus 20 defense for 3 turns. That's a fault line built into this gang. So he has his uses. He hits hard. In this row, obviously the top pick is this. In case you don't have a reviver, you want to collect a reviver, an additional reviver also. So he is obviously a top pick at 15. Then she is a clear no, so don't waste your time on that. And then depending on what your roster requires, I would recommend a pickup. She is a little irrelevant today and he is weak, and there are quite a few more blues. I would like to believe even somebody who's coming new, the amount of options that exist, he is also irrelevant unless there is a costume. So this guy might be handy a little bit. So in this row after LB, I would say ding dong, as my hitman friend says, Mr. Fong. So he is good. Let's go to the last row. Agrafena, the magic chick. There are many benefits of the magic. So what does she give? She gives the +5 mana stack, which is useful. And what does she give over here? She gives the 50% chance on the first charge to give 100% damage, which becomes 100% on the second charge. Okay. So that's not something really unique, but it helps sometimes to, excuse me, to give the hard whack. Her stats are good enough because she's not very old of a hero. And Arcane Shock special. She does a lot on mana first, which is a very fast speed, 6 tiles. All enemies get minus 20 attack, minus 20 defense, and the poison damage starts, which starts chipping away, I can tell you that much. Second mana charge, which is a slow speed comparative, with regular heroes. She gives the 45 attack, which keeps increasing 20% over 6 turns, which is quite a bit. It can really become a monstrous one. Then there is a plus 54 defense, which again increases 5 per hit over 6 turns, which also can become really big. And then there is that humongous, almost a 100% heal, because 1428, you can see what health she has. In 6 turns, she can actually, if she survives 6 turns, she can bring that much health. Heal over time is not such a huge thing these days because slashes and whacks are so hard. So the last one is helpful, but it's the first two that are really impactful in this second charge. I can tell you that 60 to 70% on defense, I would say big time the first one keeps firing, rarely, and there is a strategy to ensure that the first one keeps firing. On offense, of course, one will still use a lot of times the first one to get things moving. So yeah, she's the support buff chick. Let's go to this pretty one. So Topaz, I know there are many fans of Topaz who would be already itching to pull the trigger and pick up Topaz. So let's see why. First charge. So yeah, this is known. So I'm not going there. Her stats being not an old hero is pretty, I would say, current, timey. Defense is obviously low. So first charge destroys all minions from the target. So she's basically whacking one, and it's not a hard whack, I can tell you that. All allies get small amount of mana for each destroyed minion. So that's a very good special, but only to one. Second one is to the target and nearby, 350 damage. Obviously she kills the minions, and there's small amount of mana for each destroyed. So if more minions are being destroyed, suddenly your allies will pop up charged because there is mana coming. And the third one is obviously destroys all minions from all enemies, 390 damage to all, and more mana depending on the minions. So yeah, she's a minion killer. The only drawback is this first charge, which is very fast, and Alucard and Ojima impact all. At average speed that can be made functionally fast, even Grimble impacts all. Sorry, a small correction. Alucard impacts self and nearby, which also is useful because he's doing a host of other things. So, depending on what your roster has, she is, I would say, a fairly good pick. If one is okay with this, because minion killer, giving mana and whacking is what we want in a hero, because there are quite a few strong minions and more will come. So that's Topaz. And this is the one that is the surprise, last moment change, Guan Yu. Really surprising. So this we know this also. Going into the stats, his stats are, I would say, updated according to the latest heroes, I would say. Maybe 5 to 10% low, but that's not much. That can be quickly made with a few emblem nodes. So Green Dragon Crescent Blade at average speed delivers 390 damage to the target and nearby enemies, and that is bad. That's really hard. Damage bypasses the target's minions, so he is in a way an answer to Sorrow. Bypasses the minions and gives the whack. So he's not a minion killer. Let's put that, so you might be able to manage that. It bypasses the minions, which ensures that the minions don't reduce the impact of this guy's hammer. The target and nearby enemies get minus 25 defense and further 3 increase for each minion owned by the enemies for 3 turns. So the defense down is conditional depending on the minions. And Sorrow gives multiple minions. She gives bloody 2 minions to each, self and nearby. So there you go. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I would say excellent. You know, suddenly the game of this part has changed from the earlier video I had made a couple of days back. Guan Yu entering suddenly spices up or juices up, whichever depends on which part of the world you are in. This particular line. Oh, so damn good hero. Costume Guardian Kong. So yeah, we have this and we have this. I won't go into this. Everybody knows what this does. Also is known, and we have this benefit also. Now, having said that, 832 attack is fantastic for today's times, and he is a 4-year-old hero. So at that time, that 800 attack would have been insane. Health is again on the higher side. The fault line, the fault is built over here in the defense. Why? Because he is impact all. So he used to whack everybody and provide that crazy damage against ice, and used to cleanse all allies. The costume version hits harder, 300 damage to all, reflects blue, and dispels buff. Absolutely top hero to have in the arsenal. And instead of running behind fancy, if I get that fancy or this fancy, then I will give the limit breaker too. Well, fair enough. The limit breakers are yours. You can do what you want with that. But he deserves the first batch of limit breakers if he is in the team with the costume, because both the versions are absolute badass. They damage, reflect, and they cleanse or debuff depending on what your need is. So there you go. With LB2, this is the stat, and this is the stat. So you can see the defense is really on the lower side. The defense of the costume is still sorted out with balance of the health part. This health is 100 higher almost, but 865. So yeah, will require that. Now there is this great fan. A lot of players are fans of stats. Well, let me break the myth. It's good to be theoretical fan of stats, but the game is played in a practical mode. We don't stare at the game and say, okay, in my head I'm playing because my heroes have better stats, I am winning this, and yay, let me go and celebrate. That's not how we play the game. We actually go and play the game in reality, practical sense. So there is a reason why certain stats are kept low and certain stats are kept high. And I will leave it to each to understand that part, because I know each one is very, very clearly capable of understanding that part, instead of blindly being the fan of stats that his defense is low, so he's useless. Going to the last fellow whose name I couldn't remember a few days back. So Gaillard, he is the gargoyle. Obviously, there are benefits of the gargoyle, his fast speed, so this will be 3 times. And let me get him to the normal, because I prefer to talk about heroes in their normal mode. So his stats again are in tune with today. You can see very clearly there is a fault built with a lower defense. Why? Deals 540 damage to the target with that high attack. All allies are immune to incoming negative effects and damage from fiends. So Elizabeth will not be able to do that minus 24 mana gen if this fellow has put his buff of protection on. All allies are immune to new fiends for 4 turns. So that's a huge benefit that he brings. Because he's fast, he can charge faster than the usual average guys that require 9, or with certain type of troops and certain bonuses even can charge in 8. Fast fellows can charge in 7, or even at times in 6. There's too much of calculations. I will let you seek that out. I won't go into that talk. So that's that. So he has his uses. I have copied him numerous times using Lord Loki, but I haven't given the first feeder to the one that sits in my roster. That's the only reason is there are multiple other solutions to deal with fiends and multiple other solutions in terms of damage dealing heroes. So that's that. So in this particular row, who is it going to be? Well, his arrival creates a twist. So I am going to say it's a tie between this fellow and this fellow as my top recommendations for this. Of course, if you already have these two, it is not applicable to you unless you want to collect a dupe. I have both, so I'm not going to be picking that up. Then I would say she's the third for the functional benefit that she utility that she brings, though that first one is completely useless. So I would only look at the second and the third charge because unless the situation requires, otherwise second charge is still useful because all the three specials create some kind of a value. The last one obviously is hard and is really brilliant. I know there are fans of Agrafena and some are thinking about Agrafena as has been written in the forum. Fair enough. You know your roster. So she is good and both the specials are brilliant. So she has a brilliant impact capability in multiple areas of one's play. So that's that. And the good part is she impacts all enemies and she impacts all allies depending on the ailment or the buff choice that you make. So there you go. Sorry, Gailard, you are right back there, but there might be somebody who might need him. So obviously go for it. A gargoyle is always useful because apart from the crazy stuff that they do, this is really useful because he can then harden up and just turn an avalanche of attacks into one. Obviously, if there are 3 attacks, then his stone skin will be used up and then he can be whacked. But that's a rare opportunity or a rare moment, so really doesn't matter. So that's what I feel is that's what I feel about all these heroes. I'm not so enthusiastic because I was going to pick up this green fellow, the green chick, the costume Cadillac, according to the previous one, because I don't have her, and there was only one. Because now out of these 15, I have 13. I don't have him and him. So now I'm in a quandary as to what to do, and it's not much of use. So eventually, when I look at the whole thing, this or this, so let me just think, I'll find out. Okay, so tough decision, made my decision. I obviously will not pick up Musashi, even though he will be my, I think, 4th 2017 fellow. So it's useful, but I know that I'm not going to level up this guy. 5th, actually, a hero of the month from that era. I won't level up the red fellow. So, out of question, I will level up Albi soon. Then the thought was, should I pick up Mr. Fong? And then the question came when I look at it, I don't know whether I will ever level him up. I would rather existing. Wolfgang would be a good one to level up as a dupe instead of him. And so the question again comes, do I have somebody in the roster that I can actually complete with the maths and will be of a better use and impact? So I know I will not level him up, though he's the main guy that I would like to pick. So it comes down to, should I pick him up? Because he is relevant today. He's going to be relevant at least 6 months or a year from now too. And his special is pretty useful. So a second Guan Yu is still worth, like a second El Nadaha is still useful. So there you go. A second Hatter is still useful because, especially looking at penalties coming in today, where certain type of damage creates a penalty. This guy comes in useful with this. So decisions made. Picking up Mr. Guan Yu. And these are the fellows going. Yeah, as a collector, I wanted to collect Drake Fawn, but that's something that I've stopped doing for at least a year. This whole collector and all that crap. Nope. So, welcome to the roster, Guan Yu. You are brilliant, and that's the cool part. So, should be fun leveling you up. And also, the decision that helped me decide was I have the mats. So, I would rather take a hero that I have the mats for and I see relevance of using rather than keeping as a collector to feed away in the next soul exchange. That really doesn't make any sense. Okay, cheers. Thanks for watching. Good luck in your decision. Hope my discussion of all the heroes helps.